Hello, everybody. It's really nice to have been asked to speak with you today on behalf of Geisha Tidy Towns. Geisha is a charming little village of about 300 residents established around a stone-walled green, with most of the houses dating from the 1860s. While much of our work is the maintenance and enhancement of the built heritage of the village, it's only part of our story. What I'd like to do for a couple of minutes is to tell you about some of the projects we've completed, but also, perhaps more importantly, how we go about our work. Back in 2013, we could see that our Glebe Walk woodland had over the decades lost many of its veteran trees. Something had to be done. We commissioned ecologist George Smith to carry out a wildlife audit and a 5-year management plan for the whole village, with the support of Offaly County Council. One of its key recommendations was that we plant native trees, not just in the woodland, but throughout the village. We set up a Trees for Families scheme and initially planted 175 trees in the Glebe Walk. This scheme helped fund the planting of hundreds of more canopy and understory trees, and also about 400 metres of hedgerow throughout the village. In 2015, we won the Tidy Towns Tree Project Award, sponsored by the Tree Council of Ireland for this project. We now had the heavy lifting done. We then turned our attention to ground cover and how to improve the biodiversity and the sustainability of our flower planting. With the support of Amanda Pedlow, our Heritage Officer, we commissioned a wildlife horticulturalist, Lynn O'Keefe, to devise a planting plan for the entire village and to conduct workshops with us. We planted thousands of pollinator-friendly perennials and we sowed large areas of wildflowers. In 2017, we won the Tidy Towns National Pollinator Award, followed by a regional award in 2018 and the national award again in 2019. If there is a key to our successes to date, it's that when we wish to reimagine something, we don't go off on a solo run. We call in the specialists to advise us on how to get it done properly. 8 years on, we are still working from those same 2 action plans. We have now planted over 1,700 native trees, 5 for every resident in the village. But enough about trees. What about our plans for the future? Well, in Geisha, we too dream about water, or perhaps we imagine what it might be like to have some. John O'Donovan, that authority on place names often quoted by John Creedon, translated Geisha as place of swans. Sure enough, on the 1830s Ordnance Survey map, there is an area of wetland called the Yellow Loch on the eastern edge of the village. Over time, a road was constructed through it. It was widened and it was partially filled in. Last spring, following a site visit by Basil Mannion, we secured funding from the Community Water Development Fund to invite Phelim Harty, a wetlands specialist, to carry out a feasibility study, not on restoring the Yellow Loch wetland, but perhaps on reshaping it. This is the plan we are working from: the creation of 2 permanent pond areas linked with a seasonal swale. These will be fed by the retention of waters from the existing springs and the runoff from the large car park, which are currently diverted off into gutters. But it is also planned to create a rain garden to treat the runoff from the car park before it is fed back into the pond and swale system. The entire area will be planted with a range of native wetland plants, which will greatly increase the biodiversity of our village. It is our hope that it will provide an educational resource for our local school children, for visiting school groups, and for other interested parties. We have submitted the Geisha Wetlands Plan to the Community Water Development Fund for consideration this spring, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for a positive result. So hopefully, if you come and visit us in the next few years, you will enjoy the sights and sounds of nature in our reimagined Geisha Yellow Loch wetlands. We look forward to welcoming you. Thank you.
We are Castleconnell Fishery Association, and we are located between Limerick City and Killaloe on the main River Shannon, on the Castleconnell fishery owned by the ESB. Mostly we're fishers, eco-aware locals, and tidy towns, artists, and other groups. We've been active since 2007, and we signed a partnership with ESB and IFI in 2008. We did our first out of our own area project on our tributaries in 2020. The main challenges we face are the Partine Weir directly above us is a barrier to fish migration. We have excessive tree growth in the river itself, blocked nursery streams, gravel not free and available for salmon spawning, all of which depletes the local fish stock. And so we have a lot of invasives like hogweed, dace mainly, and mink, pollution from sewerage and the water treatment plant and runoff. What we've been doing is controlling the exotic weeds, major hogweed control over 10 years. We've been improving stream flows, clearing the flood and stream debris, raking gravel, detunneling, and we have been taking invertebrate samples just to show us what the quality is like and to get people interested. We have been working to progress the Shannon Fish Connectivity Project, which hopefully is going to come to fruition this year. And we've been getting involved in the catchment streams, especially the Black River Rehab Project in 2020. What we'll be doing is things like this: detunneling, pruning side branches of large trees, letting light in, underpinning collapsing banks that are letting sand, clay, silt into rivers and interfering with spawning, and cleaning up water access so that mud is not brought by animals down into rivers, especially this one is a double access. And this shows CE workers who do a lot of work for us, the CE, raking gravels, which is hard work. The result has been that we've almost eradicated hogweed except on the lower areas. There's been a huge improvement variably though in waterfowl due to mink trapping. We've increased local knowledge and interest in the river itself and the catchment. And there's been a big increase in salmon spawning and consequently lamprey, and increase in salmon generally then. Catch and release has been reinstated, which is extremely important for us, an extremely important anti-poaching measure. And there has been a variable improvement in trout. It's been up and down and a lot more to do. Here's just a picture of the invertebrate study a couple of years ago for the 6th class at National School down to the stream and county invertebrates. This is a major result. You can see what the electrofishing results for Castleconnell were prior to this. That's up to 2016, and you can see the salmon conservation limit in red, which is 15 fry per minute, and now Castleconnell is over 35. So that's why the fishery was reopened. Our main way of monitoring it is counting salmon reds, and these are only in the years when you can actually count the salmon reds. But as you can see, it's gone from less than 100 to over 450 in the years we've been working at. So the future is that we going to have to maintain the main river. So it's a man monitored and managed river. It has to continue into the future. We're going to have to begin assessing and doing basic care and rehab of the catchment tributaries, because that's where the trout spawn, and the trout are much lagging behind now. And the problems that we have are that our membership are aging, and we can't easily attract new members because there are lack of fish to attract them. The increased difficulty of sourcing scheme workers and retaining trained up expertise. So thanks very much. There's a salmon red, fruit of our labours.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Ronan. I'm Treasurer of FOTC, Friends of the Camac Group. We're based in Clondalkin. So the Camac River rises in Wicklow and enters the Liffey at Houston Station. On its way, it passes through the middle of Clondalkin. Our group, FOTC, was founded in 2017 after a community meeting with Lawpro and South Dublin County Council. And you'll see there are principal aims: to clean up the river, to re-establish the Clondalkin Anglers Association, and to bring more awareness to the river. So to date, under projects and initiatives, we have regular monthly cleanups of the river, wearing our yellow high-vis jackets to make sure we spread the word about Friends of the Camac. We have a quarterly newsletter, do lots of citizen science, water quality testing, planting for pollinators, which has proved very popular and successful, and initiatives for schools like nature walks and pond dipping. So completed projects and initiatives to date, through Tritouris Environmental Consultants, we had them complete both a biodiversity survey and a fisheries assessment for us to find out more about the river. We created weirs, you see the photo on the right there, created new weirs and pools last year and reduced tunnelling. SDCC were very helpful in that. We've undertaken heritage events, fishing is fun, walks in the river. The Lawpro story competition was very popular, stories from the water side. I think we had 4 or 5 entries for that. We devised check, clean and dry signage to protect the river from crayfish plague and other waterborne disease. We're lucky to have the white-clawed crayfish in our river, and we want to protect it. We undertook training in water safety, created our website and Facebook page, and most recently we have designed and have published our Camac Connections booklet, which is a super presentation, very useful as a training tool, we hope, for kids especially, and schools. And recently 3 FOTC members have been appointed IFI private water keepers. What works well in FOTC? Well, firstly, governance. We were lucky to have Tommy Keogh involved. Tommy is a vastly experienced community organiser, and he was in at the start. He won the SDCC Volunteer of the Year in 2019, and he helped to give the FOTC a sound footing. We were lucky to have a lot of people with different skills. You'll see there we've highlighted business, publishing, social media, fishing and wildlife, but all across the other areas as well. Collaboration is very important, work with all the different interested parties, so Lawpro, SDCC, DCC, Clonalkin Tidy Towns, Men's Shed, History Society and the other bodies there you'll see. Future plans and projects, working towards the restoration of the legendary Camac trout fishery is very important for us. We currently have a funding application in with Lawpro to train 10 young people from local schools in water quality monitoring. We're very keen to get young people involved. We want them to help them to identify river macroinvertebrates and to measure water quality. We intend to use the citizen science app then devised by Lawpro to help to record those findings and to pass them on to the biodiversity data centre. We're sharing surveys and local knowledge currently with the Camac Flood Alleviation Scheme, which is ongoing at this time. We've had a very successful arts competition the last 2 years, got a load of local schools involved, and particularly in COVID it was very popular and it led to a lot of photographs on our newsletter, and we'll certainly be pushing the 2021 Children's Art Competition as well. So in terms of awards, I'm happy to say we won the 2019 South Dublin County Council Community Endeavour Awards winners. We also in 2020 won the regional and national Tidy Towns Waters Communities Award winners. So a lot done in a very short space of time. So that's FOTC, where we are today. It's the first 3 years gone. We're undertaking a lot of projects now at the minute, and we want to keep it going and always looking for new members and to keep it positive. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening in.
Hello, everybody. My name is Colin Gallagher. I'm chairperson of Cloughaneely Angling Association. We're based in Falcarra, northwest Donegal. Now, here's a map of the catchment of our two little rivers. The Tullahabegly to the southwest of Falcarra, flowing directly into Ballinasloe Bay. And here's the Rye flowing into the straight into the sea there, into the Atlantic at Drumnattinny Beach. Just to give you a better idea of where we are, Tory Island would be 7 or 8 miles northwest of where we are here. So, some history of the club itself. In 1940, the club was founded, Cloughaneely, and at that stage, of course, we had pristine rivers, largely a subsistence farming economy, and no local industry. And fantastic runs of salmon and sea trout in common with most of rivers along the west coast. In the 1960s and 70s, then angling on the two rivers was very busy. Angling tourism was actually a significant part of the local economy. But then in the 80s and 90s, in common with most catchments around the country, there was a steep decline in returns of salmon and a virtual collapse in sea trout numbers compared to the 60s and 70s. Number of factors, I suppose, related mostly to economic development have probably not helped. Quarrying became a factor on both rivers. A municipal dump at the headwaters of the Rye. A smolt farm was established by Marine Harvest at the headwaters of the Tullahabegly, and we still have that today. And in general, then there was a decline in tourist angling club revenue, and the rivers were closed to angling for a period of 5 years in the early 2000s. But then in or around the same time, we started collaborating with state agencies and funding streams. I suppose the government was reaching out through several funding streams to encourage community groups to get involved in improving water quality. And this is how we managed to get to where we are today, really. In 2009, a management agreement was signed with the Northern Regional Fisheries Board. Then in 2011, which is a factor which is now key to attracting anglers to both rivers, a riverworks team was set up with Bunnyhill at Takiato Udarasna Gaeltha Kilolta. And this was one of the Skim Socialta Thuia, which are very important in Gaeltacht areas like Cloughaneely. A strategic plan was put together in 2017. Catchment management plan, then followed by a catchment management group. And then we set up our website in 2019, and that's our main mode of communicating, I suppose. The fact that we have a great offering here to tourist anglers and visitors. In all of these initiatives, Law Pro, of course, was hugely important. And here are some of the projects to date that have been supported by our catchment management plan and by Law Pro, including 2 hill lock surveys. In one of these photographs here, you'll see Dr. Tony McNally, who's a very active member of our committee. And there he is taking samples at a little lake called Loch Madriga in the upper reaches of the Cloughaneely. All is not rosy, of course. Even in the upper catchments, you see a lot of green algae in a stream that should otherwise be healthy. And we have our problems with dumping and invasive species even in the upper reaches. There's the beautiful Loch na Mrackbaddy, another lovely lake between Athla and Errigal in the upper reaches of the Cloughaneely. And this year then we're engaged in 2 projects. A riparian rehabilitation project, which is completely dependent on the cooperation of one very enthusiastic landowner, and then a water quality project, which involves the identification of critical source areas of sedimentation, which is a huge problem in the Rye River in particular. And we'll be deploying telemetry and a sampling program in order to get to a stage where we can write a report on that. So onwards and upwards from here. There are a lot of very positive, I suppose, trends at this stage. Our membership is up. Numbers of tourist anglers visiting the area is up. The Rye River is catch and release as opposed to being closed for a few years. The Cloughaneely River is fully open for angling. One of the very few rivers in Donegal which is fully open. And there's a much greater awareness through our catchment management group locally of the importance of the 2 rivers to the local economy and as an environmental resource for everybody. Or as I say here, we're working with all our partners to protect and restore our rivers, and we have great hopes for the future. So thank you very much. It's been a real opportunity to get our story out, to be asked to present at this conference.
My name is Alan Moore. I want to tell you about a community project to eradicate 2 invasive plant species along a 20-kilometre stretch of the River Suir in County Tipperary. I belong to Suircan Environmental, which is a very active environmental group based in Cloughaneely. We get involved in all sorts of projects to do with the health of the River Suir, and in particular Suir Island, a very special green oasis in the heart of Cloughaneely. But we do a lot of other things. We're involved in tree planting, hedgerow protection, and so on. A new project, our biggest so far, about to start, looking at genetic variability in the freshwater pearl mussel. River Suir is a fantastic river, and the opening 2 years ago of the new Blue Way has opened it up to a whole new generation of people. This project, involving both pulling Himalayan balsam and digging giant hogweed, would never have happened without the enthusiasm and support of the local authority water programme, and in particular the human dynamo that is Dr. Fran Igo. Top left, Dr. Igo demonstrating pulling technique on Himalayan balsam, the first of the 2 plants that we addressed. Bottom left, very different specimen, the giant hogweed, with Dr. Mike Fitzgibbon, one of our volunteers, booted and suited beneath. So first of all, Himalayan balsam. It's a very pretty plant, introduced for that reason in Victorian times, because of its beautiful flowers, which range in colour from this lovely pink to a white colour and a purple colour. Produces about 800 seeds a year, which it expels explosively from its seed pod, and this is a problem. It loves Irish riverbanks, and it takes over and invades, as the name suggests, crowding out native species. And during the winter, when it dies back, it exposes riverbanks to erosion from flood water. The technique that we've been using, and this is some of our volunteers, involves basically pulling up the plant. It's a very satisfying thing to do. It comes up easily. You pull it down low near the root, break it off, pile it up to rot down in heaps, and that's the job done. As you can see, the volunteers here have plastic bags. One thing you have to do is to address the problem before the plant reaches its seed stage. And in the first year, we were a bit late, so we bagged up the heads and early seeds in plastic bags and destroyed them separately. The big lesson that we've learned from our work with these two plants is to make the occasions fun, make the get-togethers where we pull Himalayan balsam in particular into fun social gatherings, something we hope to do when regulations permit in this, our third year. And we've had many happy evenings along the riverbank ending in picnics and get-togethers, which have been very good for raising awareness. Now we come to the horror story part of the presentation. This is the second plant we've been dealing with, and it's giant hogweed. This is a really nasty plant with no redeeming characteristics. Grows up to 5 meters in height, produces 50,000 seeds per year, which can last up to 15 years underground. Blotchy purple stalk, hairy, sharp leaves, looks a bit like our native hogweed, but really different when you get your eye in. The big problem is burns from the sap it produces, which sensitize the skin to the sap, causing very serious burns and even blindness. So this is a plant that requires a strategic approach. This is me digging up giant hogweed on the River Cloughaneely, a tributary of the Suir in Feathered. Our technique that we've been using is to dig up the plant with as much root as possible and slice it off and remove the flower seed head and destroy it separately. Very strict safety protocol, full protective gear, as you can see, including eye protection, long gloves. This is a really important thing to get right, and volunteers have to be trained up specially to make sure that safety is satisfied. Well, our results have been good. We've raised awareness. The River Suir Blueway is a very public thoroughfare, and a lot of people have become aware of our work on these two invasives through meeting us along the river. We have definitely reduced the Himalayan balsam, and in fact we think we're on top of it, which is very satisfying on this stretch of the river. The giant hogweed problem is different. This year it'll be very interesting to see how our digging technique is working, but this is a longer project. The lessons we've learned are, as I say, to make it fun, make it social, very strict health and safety issues raised and have to be dealt with properly. Involve the local authority. We've been keeping Tipperary County Council advised of our work because we need to collaborate with them in the future. We can't do this on our own, and we recognise the need to keep the council aware of our work for future collaboration. Use the local media. This is a short article in the local Nationalist about the project. If you want to get in touch with us to either join and volunteer for future work if you live locally, or want to find out anything more about our projects, do please get in touch on the Gmail address or visit our Facebook page, Suircan. Thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Marie Rohan. I'm a development officer with Killkenny Leader Partnership. I'm from Killkenny, which is an inland county with no coast. So the rivers are really important to us. We have 3 major rivers flowing throughout the county, which are the Nore, the Barrow and the Suir. This is a project that was piloted just on the Nore. It came about originally because we were developing our local development strategy, and we have an objective in that to get people to turn towards the river, and that's where this process began. In doing that, we looked at Killkenny because that is the county, and we soon discovered that there was no point in looking at the river in Killkenny without looking at the catchment. So we approached the other rural development companies within the catchment. There are 4 who have delivered the rural development programme, and these are embedded in the communities and have delivered numerous programmes, including Leader, over the past number of years. So therefore they've really good knowledge of the rural issues relevant to the river. It soon became apparent, and it was recognised, the need for a collaborative process, because the catchment itself was too big just for one group of people to manage. So with that, we were able to apply to a cooperation budget for the 4 rural development companies, whereby we undertook a massive consultation exercise, which took about 2 years over the catchment. And it was really important through that process that we viewed this initiative as a generational one, not something that just lasted for 5 years. So within that, we identified 5 priority areas. The first being water quality, an obvious one, and then there was the natural and cultural heritage, and then there was an education piece, which was around, you know, people understanding what invasive species are and so on. And then underpinning all that, the one resounding comment that we kept getting was, who do you contact when you want to discuss something around the rivers? Is there one voice? So we did another piece of research around what governance should be there for a structure like this or an initiative like this. The process itself, it wasn't quick. The cooperation piece began, well, actually the investigation piece began a lot before then, but the cooperation piece started in 2017, 2018 with Dr. Harriet Emerson and Dr. Caroline Crowley. And they conducted about 13 workshops across the catchment, which culminated in us being able to tender a number of community engagement initiatives, which we signed with a company called Very last March, just before lockdown. And most of that was actually coined as training, but it was community engagement. So it all moved from something that was supposed to be on the ground to online, but it worked really, really well. People were walking along the river, they were swimming when they hadn't probably done for years through the lockdown period, and then they were home at night time on their phones and wanted to engage and connect with the river a bit more. So quite quickly that process began with a Facebook campaign that we were trying to get 1,000 friends of the Nor, and ended up within a year, or within 3 or 4 months, we actually had achieved that target. So what this showed to us is that there was huge momentum and huge hunger for people to connect with the river and to help and assist with the different things that were taking place along the river. So where we are now is that we have developed an interim board. We're still working around the piece of governance. We have a massive campaign going and a conference. Our first conference ever, which will take place in April. I think there's more details coming on the video next in relation to that. And with that process, we will have to agree a strategy and plans for 2021. So that's essentially what we have done as a development agency and what the Nor Vision is about. And I have a short video now, which I think you might not get to see in full, but if you don't, the full video and details and contacts will be available on www.norvision.ie. There's my contact details and a link to the website if anyone would like to ask anything further.
It's never been more important that we as communities work together to collaborate, to celebrate and to activate ourselves around our biodiversity and nature. And Nor Vision has been doing that for many years now. The beauty of what has been created with Nor Vision is a community of people who have the best interests of the river and its catchment at the core. Today, the Nor catchment, along with its many tributaries, is a source of drinking water, flood control, biodiversity, food production, recreation and life for some 110,000 people. We need to better understand the value of our natural surroundings, the inspiration it gives us, and the quality food it puts on our table. Embracing nature and biodiversity individually, we can do a little, but together we can achieve so much more to protect and enhance our environment. Vision is here to support those who wish to protect and enhance this beautiful and valuable resource by rolling up their sleeves and getting involved.
From April 26th to 28th, Vision will hold a free online conference for everyone to come together to learn how we can protect our river and our environments, to leave a legacy for future generations. One native Irish tree will be planted for everyone who joins the conversation. Details available at www.norvision.ie/conference.